Adversity is a part of life. You will face failure, loss, and pressure. Not because you are broken, but because you're human. These moments aren't signs of weakness. They are simply the terrain of living. A new job, an important exam, a high-stakes decision. Each can stir up self-doubt. But that doubt doesn't define you. Self-doubt arises when something inside you feels unsure. When a quiet voice begins to question your worth or ability. In small doses, that voice can be useful. It can prompt reflection, encourage growth. But when it becomes constant, when it holds you back and drains your energy, it can quietly erode your confidence. You're not alone in this experience. Even the strongest minds in history, Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, felt doubt. What set them apart wasn't their ability to avoid it, but their willingness to meet it with wisdom and discipline. They didn't let their thoughts run wild. They trained their minds, and in doing so, they rebuilt themselves, wiser, steadier, stronger. You can too. In this journey, we'll walk through 10 practical strategies to help you understand, face, and move beyond self-doubt, so you can live with resilience, clarity, and strength. 1. Accept your self-doubt. This may sound counterintuitive, but to overcome self-doubt, we must begin by not fighting it. Imagine being in a dark room and seeing a terrifying shadow. You could panic and try to chase it away. Or you could calmly turn on the light. That shadow you'd see is just a reflection, not a threat, just fear, distorted. Self-doubt is like that. The more you resist it, the more it grows. But when you turn your attention to it without judgment, it loses its grip. Stoic philosophy teaches us, it is not events themselves that disturb us, but the way we interpret them. Self-doubt is not the enemy. It's our reaction to it that makes it powerful or powerless. Try seeing self-doubt from another angle. It's not a curse. It's a protective instinct, an old mental reflex, one that asks, "Are you ready? Are you sure?" But it doesn't speak the full truth. When that voice tells you you're not good enough, not capable enough, remember, that is not a sentence. It's just a passing thought, and you have the final say in how you respond. You don't have to fight self-doubt. Talk to it calmly, like you would to a worried friend. I hear you. I know you're trying to help, but I'm still moving forward. When you do this, self-doubt loses its intensity. You don't have to silence it completely. Just don't let it sit in the driver's seat. Even in spiritual teachings, we see this pattern. When Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, he didn't lash out in fear or anger. He stood firm, quiet, centered. That kind of steadiness is available to all of us. And self-doubt, like any challenge, is simply another test of that strength. To accept self-doubt is not to surrender to it. It's to see it clearly for what it is. Just one voice among many. Not a truth, not a verdict, and certainly not your identity. Once you stop trying to eliminate it, you'll find it has less and less power over you. Your mind won't spiral every time it returns. Instead, you'll learn how to act, even when uncertainty lingers. And that's where real strength begins. 2. Be mindful of how you think. Often, the harshest criticism you'll ever hear doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. There's a voice in your head that tends to show up when you're about to take a step forward. An important meeting, a new challenge, an unfamiliar opportunity. I'm going to fail. I'm not good enough. They'll laugh at me. These thoughts arise quietly at first, but if left unexamined, they begin to shape how you see yourself. And over time, they can feel like truth. But they aren't. They're habits, patterns your mind has repeated so often that they've begun to feel real. The brain generates thoughts constantly, some helpful, some neutral, some completely distorted. Not all of them deserve your attention. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The same holds true for your thoughts. They hold no power unless you give it to them. If you believe you're a failure, it's not because it's objectively true. It's because in that moment, you've chosen to believe a passing thought. Take a simple example. You're learning a new skill, like playing guitar. Your fingers stumble. Notes sound off. It's uncomfortable. That inner voice may quickly say, "I'm just not talented." But pause. Step back. Is that really true? Or is it just the discomfort of being a beginner? Everyone struggles at the start. That isn't failure. It's growth in motion. But if you believe the voice that says you can't, you may give up too soon. That's why it's important to question the story your mind is telling. Negative thinking is like a path in a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer it becomes. But you're not stuck with it. You can choose another way, a different response. And with time, that new path becomes your default. This is how self-doubt begins to lose its grip, not by fighting it, but by learning to question it. When a negative thought appears, don't accept it immediately. Instead, ask, "Is this true? Is this helpful? Does this thought move me closer to the person I want to be?" If the answer is no, let it go, like a cloud drifting across the sky. You can't stop the cloud from appearing, but you don't have to follow it. Now here's a powerful step. 3. Give your inner critic a name, a face, a personality. When self-doubt whispers in your ear, try seeing it not as truth, but as a misguided part of you. Not an enemy, but an overly anxious friend trying to protect you in the wrong way. Self-doubt is clever. It tries to plant seeds of fear, make you second-guess your worth. But ask yourself this: if someone else said the things your inner critic says, "You're not good enough. You'll never succeed," would you accept it without question? Or would you stand your ground? The truth is, many of us never challenge that voice, not because it's right, but because we mistake it for who we are. But you are not your thoughts. Just like a scar or a blemish doesn't define your worth, neither does a critical thought. They are simply mental noise, not absolute truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that includes the power to choose which thoughts you believe and which ones you simply let pass. When you begin to see that your thoughts are not who you are, something shifts. You begin to reclaim your inner space. One of the simplest but most powerful ways to do this is by giving your self-doubt a name, by turning it into a character separate from yourself. When you personify that voice, you no longer treat it as your identity. It becomes something you can observe and choose not to obey. I once knew someone who called his inner critic Mr. Smith. Whenever he felt that familiar doubt creeping in, that sense of not being enough, he'd smile and say to himself, "Ah, there's Mr. Smith again. What's he worried about this time?" And just like that, the voice lost its grip. It wasn't the voice of truth anymore. It was just the background noise of an old, anxious storyteller. When you do this, you shift from reacting to observing. You stop taking that voice at face value. You pause, and in that pause, you gain power. This is what Stoicism teaches at its core, that real strength lies in choosing your response, especially when your emotions are loud or your thoughts are spiraling. At first, naming your self-doubt might feel silly. But try it. Give it a ridiculous name. Picture it as an old cartoon character or a panicked news reporter. Whatever makes it less intimidating, do that. You're not mocking yourself. You're separating the thought from the thinker. Because you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them, the one who gets to decide which thoughts stay and which are simply passing noise. And in that awareness, there is real freedom. 4. Restructure your thinking. Self-doubt doesn't come from facts. It comes from the way we interpret our experiences. It's a story we tell ourselves, a quiet whisper that repeats, "I'm not good enough." But if it's just a story, why not rewrite it? Stoic philosophy has long emphasized that it's not external events that disturb us, but the meaning we assign to them. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that trouble us, but our opinions about them." This idea closely aligns with a cornerstone of modern psychology, cognitive restructuring. By examining and adjusting our thought patterns, we create space for clearer emotion and better choices. We become less reactive, more grounded. Take a simple example. Carl just had an argument with his wife. Immediately afterward, his mind floods with guilt and self-judgment. "I shouldn't have said that. Now she'll be upset with me all day. I always ruin things." These thoughts don't just reflect his emotional state. They shape it. They reinforce the belief that speaking up is dangerous, that expressing emotion is a mistake. But what if Carl pauses and questions that narrative? He might say, "Yes, she's upset." But open conversations, even difficult ones, are necessary for growth. "I handled that imperfectly, but I'm proud I chose honesty." That's not denial. That's reframing. Cognitive restructuring is not about sugarcoating reality or pretending everything is fine. It's about seeing things more clearly, replacing distorted, damaging thoughts with ones that are realistic, constructive, and honest. Stoicism echoes this mindset. It teaches us to hold our thoughts lightly, like clouds in the sky. They drift through, they change shape, and we don't have to chase them. St. Augustine once observed, "The mind commands the body and is instantly obeyed. The mind commands itself and meets resistance." This reminds us, true strength isn't about controlling the world. It's about learning to lead ourselves with clarity and compassion. So next time you find yourself stuck in a loop of negative thinking, pause. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is there a better way to see this? Over time, you'll find that your mind begins to change course, not overnight, but with practice. And with that, a new story begins to take shape. That harsh self-criticism? It's not truth. It's a mental habit, one you can change. Every time you choose to see things with more clarity and kindness, you're not just building a stronger mind. You're moving closer to inner peace. Self-doubt loses its weight when you place it where it truly belongs. As a passing thought, nothing more, nothing less. Have you ever tried applying cognitive restructuring in your life? If so, share your experience in the comments. And if you haven't yet, would you consider starting today? I'd love to hear your thoughts. 5. Cultivate your sense of purpose. Nature may fill your empty stomach, but insecurity feeds on the empty spaces of the mind. It creeps in when we're distracted or disconnected, filling the silence with doubt. Those living with self-doubt often try to run from the darkness. But what if, instead of fighting it, you simply lit a candle? That candle is a clear, strong sense of purpose. Think about it. Did Rosa Parks refuse to give up her seat because she was fearless? Or because her belief in justice was unshakable? Did Michael Jordan make game-winning shots because he mastered doubt? Or because his focus on victory was unwavering? Did Joan of Arc charge into battle as a young woman because she had no fear? Or because her mission carried her beyond it? The truth is, you don't have to erase doubt completely. You don't need to be free from insecurity. Instead, let a deep sense of purpose pull you forward. When you truly believe in something, doubt steps back. It may still be there, but it no longer runs the show. If you find yourself caught in a cycle of self-doubt, pause and ask, what matters most to me? Who do I want to become? What belief or cause am I willing to pursue with everything I have? Don't just focus on what you want to avoid. Instead, channel your energy toward what you want to build, to grow, to become. Often, it's a lack of purpose, not fear alone, that keeps us stuck. Someone without a clear reason to move forward easily falls into negative thoughts. But a person with a purpose strong enough won't let small fears stop them. Imagine standing on a swaying suspension bridge, looking down at the abyss below. If you focus only on the danger, anxiety will overwhelm you. But if someone you love is waiting on the other side, if something meaningful calls you forward, you'll cross without hesitation. So instead of letting self-doubt control you, find something that leaves no room for doubt. Commit to a purpose that matters. Let that light guide your steps. If you've made it this far, thank you for being here with us. Show you're with us by commenting, "Purpose lights the way," below. Like this video and subscribe to keep exploring the power of Stoicism. There's so much more ahead. 6. Spend time with people who trust you. Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This isn't just a casual observation. It reveals something profound about how we shape ourselves. The people around us influence our thoughts, our feelings, and ultimately how we see our own worth. This is especially true when you struggle with self-doubt. Often, we seek approval from those who don't truly believe in us. We try to prove we're good enough, important enough, valuable enough. But ironically, this can become a trap. Those who doubt or underestimate us rarely offer the validation we crave, and chasing their approval only deepens our self-doubt. Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And those thoughts are shaped not only by our inner world, but by the company we keep. If you surround yourself with people who criticize, doubt, or belittle you, it's no surprise that insecurity takes root. But when you spend time with those who truly see your potential, who believe in you without conditions, the effect is transformative. The difference is clear. Those who support you don't just encourage, they challenge you in ways that help you grow without making you feel small. They don't need you to prove yourself because they already see your worth, even when you don't. Ask yourself, who truly believes in you? Is it an old friend, a mentor, a family member, or a colleague? When you step back and spend more time with these people, you'll notice the difference, not because they blindly praise you, but because they help you see yourself through a lens of trust and support, not fear and doubt. Once you experience this, you'll realize that confidence doesn't come from winning over skeptics. It comes from choosing the right environment, surrounding yourself with those who lift you up rather than hold you down. Be intentional about who you walk with. Choose those who make you feel stronger, not those who leave you feeling never enough. Because in the end, the way you see yourself is deeply shaped by the people you allow into your life. 7. Try therapy or counseling. I understand there can be hesitation around therapy. But consider this. If a ship is even slightly off course on a long journey, it can end up far from its intended destination. Our minds work the same way. Sometimes a small adjustment from a professional can help us find our way back, moving forward with greater clarity and confidence. When someone finds the right therapist or counselor, it can become a powerful catalyst for growth. This doesn't mean you can't learn or improve on your own. Books, techniques, and Stoic practices all have value. But why take the long, winding road when there might be a clearer path? Imagine training for a marathon without any guidance. You could read all the books, watch all the videos, but it might take years of trial and error before you see real progress. You might even get discouraged or injured. Now imagine having a coach, someone who understands the body and the process, helping you avoid mistakes and reach your goals faster. Therapy works the same way. A good therapist doesn't give you answers. They help you find them within yourself. They guide you to recognize the negative thought patterns holding you back and help you face wounds you may not have fully acknowledged. More importantly, they help you build a foundation, not just to overcome self-doubt, but to rebuild a stronger, more resilient you. If you have faith in God, consider therapy as part of His plan for you. God never intended for His children to live in fear or uncertainty. He has given us wisdom, courage, and people who can support us on this journey. Sometimes, God doesn't provide direct answers, but sends mentors, friends, or therapists to guide us. You are not meant to walk this path alone. If you believe you must handle everything by yourself, ask, is that true strength, or is it fear of admitting you need help? Even the greatest warriors have advisors. God has given us tools, and therapy may be one of them. Now, if there's a way to overcome self-doubt faster and more effectively, would you be willing to step out of your comfort zone to try it? If so, let's move on to the next strategy, where we'll explore another powerful way to train your mind and build resilience. The right kind of comparison. If you struggle with insecurity, you've probably heard the advice, don't compare yourself to others. On the surface, that advice makes sense. Comparison often leads to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and disappointment in ourselves. But in reality, can we truly stop comparing? Humans are social creatures. We naturally observe and evaluate where we stand in a group. It's part of how we understand ourselves. Instead of fighting this instinct, what if we redirected it in a way that actually helps us grow? The question isn't, how do I stop comparing? But rather, who should I compare myself to? One of the core principles of Stoicism is to focus on what's within our control. We can't control other people's talents or luck, but we can control our own growth. So instead of measuring yourself against others, try comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Imagine you just gave a presentation at work and noticed your final slide wasn't as strong as you wanted. Self-doubt starts to creep in. You criticize yourself. You compare your performance to a colleague's flawless presentation the day before. Why can't I be as good as her, you think? And just like that, insecurity begins to chip away at your confidence. But what if you shift your perspective? Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare today's you to the person you were when you first started. Maybe your early presentations were shaky. You stumbled over words, forgot points, or felt nervous. Now, even if your last slide wasn't perfect, you stood in front of a crowd and spoke clearly and confidently. Seen this way, you're not failing, you're growing. Epictetus once asked, how long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? This question isn't about competing with others. It's a reminder that your progress is in your own hands. When you focus too much on other people's success, you risk overlooking the positive changes you've made in yourself. Remember, the wrong kind of comparison can trap you in a loop of negativity. But when used wisely, comparison becomes a powerful tool for growth. The difference between someone who stays stuck and someone who moves forward isn't natural talent or external luck. It's how they choose to view themselves. So ask yourself, are you comparing yourself in the right way? What changes do you notice when you look back at who you were a year ago? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. 9. Practice self-compassion. Sometimes self-doubt isn't born from reality, but from not having a better alternative. When you face failure, make mistakes, or run into challenges, and don't have a positive way to cope, doubt becomes almost automatic. You blame yourself because you simply don't know what else to do. But imagine if you had another path, a wiser, kinder way to respond. Things would feel easier. Learning a new instrument is much faster if you have a teacher or older sibling to guide you. Walking into a gym feels less intimidating if a personal trainer helps you avoid common mistakes and teaches you the right techniques. When it comes to self-doubt, having a clear alternative to the default cycle of harsh self-criticism means you're no longer trapped by it. That alternative is self-compassion. Self-compassion isn't about indulging yourself or making excuses for mistakes. It's about treating yourself fairly as you would a close friend going through a hard time. If a friend failed, would you immediately call them incompetent or worthless? Or would you help them see things more clearly, offer reassurance, and remind them that everyone stumbles sometimes? Next time self-doubt sneaks in after a mistake, try this. Imagine your closest friend is in your shoes. What would you say to them? Then say those words to yourself. Offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you give others. This won't just help you get through tough moments. It will gently shift how you see yourself over time. You'll stop being your own harshest critic and become your own guide, supporter, and steady companion on this journey of growth. Remember, you deserve kindness just as much as anyone else. You've spent a lifetime focusing on your mistakes. Have you ever paused to recognize the great things you've done? Here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from wiping out every mistake. It comes from recognizing both successes and failures with balance. And there's no better way to practice this balance than with self-gratitude journaling. 10. Write a gratitude journal to yourself. Have you ever felt not good enough, not strong enough, or undeserving of what you've achieved? Does self-doubt creep in as a persistent voice, reminding you of your shortcomings and failures? That voice isn't truth. It's a habit of negative thinking that's built up over time. The good news? Like any habit, it can be changed. One of the simplest and most powerful ways is to keep a self-gratitude journal. We often recognize and appreciate others' efforts, but strangely, we can be overly critical of ourselves. For some reason, we don't always see the importance of acknowledging our own small wins. But this isn't humility or wisdom. It's a flawed mindset. If you don't recognize your own worth, who will? Take the example of Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist. He wasn't just famous for his discoveries. He was also known for his confidence and independent thinking. Yet after working on the Manhattan Project, Feynman fell into a period of self-doubt. He questioned if his past success was just luck and lost motivation. Instead of letting doubt take over, he began noticing the small things he did well each day. Though he didn't call it a gratitude journal, that's exactly what it was. He wrote down moments of insight, meaningful conversations, or simply the fact that he stayed curious. Little by little, his confidence returned, not from grand achievements, but from appreciating the small things. Keeping a self-gratitude journal doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need a fancy notebook or hours of reflection. Open the Notes app on your phone and title it Self-Gratitude. Each evening, take a few minutes to write one or two things you're proud of that day. It can be anything, from meeting a deadline, staying calm in a tough moment, or even just getting out of bed when you didn't feel like it. At first, this might feel unfamiliar or even strange. But remember, the mind is shaped by repetition. When you choose to recognize your own value regularly, you train your brain to focus on strengths instead of weaknesses. Over time, self-doubt will find less and less room to grow. Start today. Don't wait until you feel worthy. This practice itself will show you that you always have been. The journey of discovering the power of silence, emotional control, and overcoming self-doubt through Stoic philosophy. As you've seen, true self-respect doesn't come from loud words or impulsive reactions. It grows from composure, self-awareness, and the ability to choose how we respond to the world around us. When you learn to hold silence in moments of tension, you not only protect your dignity, but also build an inner strength that can't be shaken. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where silence spoke louder than words? What do you find most challenging about practicing Stoic calmness? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button to support the channel. Share it with someone who might benefit from this message. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any future content. Also, let me know what topics you'd like us to explore in upcoming videos. I'm excited to continue this journey with you.